Hey guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today we're back with another recent reads, and this is the first recent reads of 2026, and I have 11 books to share with you guys, and you guys will be so proud of me because I do not have any DNFs. I have not DNF'd anything so far in 2026, and you guys know I'm quick to DNF a book. So I'm not gonna say I actually enjoyed all of the things that I have read so far, but I will say I was able to finish them. So I do have a couple of 2-star reads, quite a few 3-star reads, a few 4-star reads, and one 5-star read so far for 2026. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So starting off with my 2-star reads, the first one is Where He Left Me by Nicole Bart. This is a adult thriller, and in this one, we're following this woman, Sadie, and Sadie and her husband, Felix, have just moved back to Felix's childhood home up in the mountains. And so one day he actually leaves for a work trip, but he does not return the day he is supposed to, and Sadie is in a panic. Not only did he not return, but there is also a approaching snowstorm, and one night while she is at home alone, she actually sees a figure on the security cameras, and now she is trying to figure out what to do. So in the beginning of this story, I was really invested. I was really curious to see what happened to Felix. But once we started to get to the middle of the story, everything started to seem really repetitive. Like I mentioned before, Sadie is also facing this snowstorm, and so a lot of her actions in the middle of the book just felt really repetitive with her trying to get help with this snowstorm. So it started to make the story feel like it was dragging at certain points. And then throughout the story, we're also getting these flashback chapters of Sadie and Felix. And Felix is an astronomer, and I realized after reading this, I do not care about astronomy like I thought I did. There's a lot of talk about like the planets and the stars and the universe. I did not care about that at all. And I actually kind of feel like those flashback chapters were taking me out of the central plot of the story. So I really didn't care about that. And then the ending wasn't as satisfying as I wanted it to be. I'm not necessarily disappointed with where the story went. I was just expecting a little bit more, so I ended up giving this one 2 stars. So my other 2-star read, we have 59 Minutes by Holly Seaton. This is another adult thriller. So this takes place in South London, and at the beginning of the story, everybody in South London gets this alert that says there is a missile threat, and they have 59 minutes until impact, and everybody needs to seek shelter. So we end up following 3 different characters. So we follow this one woman, Frankie, who is trying to seek shelter with her boyfriend, Otis, and she just found out that she was pregnant. We're also following this character, Carrie, and Carrie is actually doing everything that she can to get home to her partner and her young daughter. And then we're following this character named Mrs. Dab, who is looking for her missing granddaughter. So we're following these 3 characters as they are trying to figure out what they are going to do with this impending threat. This one got 2 stars for me because the ending was very chaotic and not necessarily in a good way. So with a story like this, I think I would have enjoyed this way more if we would have gotten POVs from a lot of different characters in like a lot of different roles with this impending threat. And what I mean by that is that we could have gotten POVs from just regular citizens. We could have also gotten POVs from like emergency services, people in the government, just people from different aspects of this threat. I think that would have made for a more engaging story, but just following these 3 characters at certain points kind of got a little bit boring. And like I said, the end of it was a little chaotic because the timeline started to shift and we started kind of like jumping around with the characters. And then at a certain point, it just kind of felt like this whole missile threat was an afterthought. Like that wasn't what we were focused on anymore. We were then focused on some of the like drama between some of these characters. I went into this one expecting so much more. In this one, even though I didn't really know what to expect going into it, it left me disappointed because the premise sounded so good. I just think that the author could have done a little bit more with it. And I think the conclusion to the story could have been way better than what we got. So moving on to my 3-star reads, we are starting off with And Then There Was You by Sophie Cousins. This is a adult romance. I had actually gotten this as an arc from NetGalley. I got the arc last year, but I wasn't able to get to it until this year, which is fine. So in this one, we're following our main character, Chloe, and Chloe is getting ready for her, like, it's either 10 or 20-year college reunion. And she does not feel like she is where she wants to be in life. And she's hesitant to go, especially because she doesn't have like a partner. She comes across somebody, I don't remember if it's like a friend or something, but they mentioned this dating service that Chloe should use. Chloe uses the dating service and she ends up meeting Rob. There are some things with Rob, but she meets Rob, they hit it off, and she decides that she's gonna fake date him and bring him to her college reunion. While she's there, she actually meets up with some of her old friends, and one of her friends she actually had a crush on, and the story just kind of moves on from there. Now, I've read quite a few books from Sophie Cousins, and I have pretty much enjoyed all of them. Even though I rated this one 3 stars, I will have to say this is my least favorite from Sophie Cousins. I found parts of this to be hilarious, especially after you find out what is actually going on with Rob. That is something that I just was not expecting. So I was actually surprised by that. I also kind of liked how there were some life lessons woven into the story as well. Rob is kind of like the voice of reason for Chloe, and anytime she feels down about herself, or she just doesn't really feel like she is where she's supposed to be, or she's not on the same level as like her counterparts, he is kind of there to help build up her confidence. And I really enjoyed that. However, the main romance that we got in this story, I was just not really a fan of. I wasn't really that invested in it. I didn't really care about what happened by the end. So parts of this I really enjoyed, but this is another story where I just feel like I wanted more from this, and I really wish that I liked the characters more, especially Chloe and the love interest. And if I had, I probably would have rated this one higher. Another arc that I received, and this was an arc that was released in the month of January. This is It Should Have Been You by Andrea Mara. This is a adult thriller, and this is one that I'm also like slightly disappointed in because it has everything in it that I would love, but it just didn't work for me. So in this one, we're following a community of people. One of the people in this community, so wait, let me backtrack. So in this community, there is like this group chat. I forget like what they use, but like it's like a WhatsApp group for everybody that's in this community. And so one of the members in the community accidentally sends a message to this group chat, smack talking a member of the community. And from there, a lot of rumors and drama unravels. This has a then now timeline. It follows multiple people from the community. There is a lot of drama. Some of it is messy drama. It's fast paced. All of the chapters leave off on cliffhangers. It just didn't work for me. I never really felt 100% invested in it because there was so much going on. You guys know that I love me some mess in a story. That is gonna sell me real quick, which is why I thought I was going to like absolutely love this story, but it was just too much going on. There were so many characters to keep track of. And once they started being like interwoven with each other, it just got hard to follow. And then when we got to the conclusion or the final twist, I just didn't really buy into it. I think a lot of people will end up liking this one, and I'm just sad that I couldn't rate it higher than 3 stars. The next book that I have here, I actually listened to it on audio. This is Only for Me by Casey Mills. This is a adult romance. If you guys don't know, I mentioned it before last year, but I am a part of a book club of Black women where we read romance by Black authors. And so this was our January pick. I didn't really know what to expect from this one, but I do know in the romance community that this author seems to be really popular. So I was excited that this was one of our picks for this year. So in this one, we're following our two characters, Makari and Omiri. I hope I am saying their names correctly. But Omiri is a really popular football star. His team has gone to several Super Bowls, so he's popping right now. And then we have Makari, who works in PR, and she specifically works with athletes, specifically football players. So one night after one of his Super Bowl wins, they end up having a one-night stand, and she gets pregnant, but she doesn't tell him about it. The reason why she doesn't tell him about it is because he has stated publicly that he does not want any children. None at all. And so she's like, fine, I'm just never gonna say anything to him. I'm just gonna be a single mother and raise my daughter by myself. Well, one night when she and the baby are in a drugstore, Omiri shows up, he takes a look at the baby and immediately knows that that is his child. So they get a DNA test, they try to figure out like financial support, custody. While they're doing all of that, they of course get closer, and then a romance develops between the two characters. This is another story where I feel like I just wanted more. I thought more was going to happen between them. Once the romance started, nothing else really happened. I thought that there was going to be some more drama between the two characters. I thought that they were going to have to face some issues. And they do face a few issues here or there, but like they get resolved so quickly that we don't really have time to sit with them. And it just, I don't know, it just felt like an incomplete story. Or maybe I'm just so used to messy relationships that I didn't know what to do with this one. But I don't feel like it really, I don't want to say it didn't hold my attention, because I mean, I did finish it, but I don't know. The only thing that I can say is I just wanted more from their relationship. I wanted them to face more challenges. And with him being a famous football player and she not really wanting to be in the spotlight like that, I really thought that they would have had more issues in their relationship that we were going to be able to see them work through, and we just did not. However, he is dealing with a lot of grief. His brother tragically passed away, and so he has been trying to cope with that throughout the story. But that's like the only serious thing that really happened. I'm going to be like a broken record. I just wanted more from this story. But I do want to pick up more from Casey Mills because, like I said, I have heard that they're really popular, and maybe this just wasn't the best place to start. But overall, I did give it 3 stars. Another arc that I received from NetGalley that was released in January, we have The Redo List by Denise Williams. This is another adult romance. This is another book that was just fine for me. So in this one, we're following Willow. And Willow has just gotten out of a 10-year relationship. And so it ended very publicly. There was a video that went viral of their breakup. And so she is trying to deal with that. Her brother is currently in the military, and so he has Willow go back to their childhood home where he lives to kind of house sit for him and watch his dog. He also has his best friend Deacon, who was on leave from the military due to an injury, to kind of befriend her and watch her while he is away, but he gives him specific instructions to leave Willow alone romantically. Don't start anything with her, just kind of be her friend and comfort her. Well, we all know that doesn't work. So Willow actually comes up with this redo list of all the things that she wants to redo for the first time that doesn't involve like her ex. Because she spent so much time with her ex, she just wants to redo a lot of things, and Deacon takes it upon himself to help her out, and then the story just kind of takes off from there. So this actually has an age gap. I think she's like in her early 20s. He's in his early 30s. mid-30s, something like that. It's kind of a forbidden romance because he's the best friend and her brother told him specifically not to mess with her like that. I found this one to be okay. This book felt extremely long. When I was reading this, I feel like I would be reading so much. I read it on my Kindle. I feel like I would be reading so many pages and I would only be like 3% further in than like when I started. This did not have to be so long. I felt like some of the scenes in here dragged out way longer than they needed to. And another thing that I feel like I'm learning about myself in the things that I read, especially when it comes to romance, I don't think I really care about people making lists. It seems like a lot of romance, they love to have somebody making a list. And I don't care about the list. I really don't. Now, this is coming from somebody who I love making a list. I love checking things off of a list. It makes me feel accomplished, but I don't care about anybody else's list. And so I didn't care about this list that she was trying to complete in here. Their romance was fine. It was cute. I liked the progression although it was a little slow. I did kind of like their like banter back and forth because in the beginning they kind of started off as friends and then it just kind of progressed from there. There were some funny moments in here. We did get a lot of military talk in regards to Deacon because, like I said, he was on leave from the military due to an injury. He's in like rehab for his injury and he's trying to get himself better so that he can re-enlist. So we spent a lot of time talking about that, which I didn't really care about. This is not my favorite from Denise Williams. I didn't really have high hopes for this one, but I did think that I was going to enjoy it more. Obviously, I didn't hate it because I gave it 3 stars. But again, I just wanted more. My last 3-star read, we have Read Between the Lies by Jessie Q. Sutanto. This is an adult mystery. I did get this as an audio review copy from NetGalley, and I was excited about this one because I have seen this author's name floating around a lot. I think they write in a few different genres, so I was excited to finally check out something from this author. I do think that I have another book from them. I just haven't been able to get it, so I was excited going into this. So in this one, we're following Fern, and first off, I don't know how I feel about the name Fern, but we're following Fern, and she is another character where she is not exactly where she wants to be in life, but she is an inspiring author. And finally, she gets her shot. She learns that her book is finally going to be published. She has this book deal that she is so excited about, and everything seems to be on the up and up until she finds out that this woman, Haven, who she used to go to school with and who she actually used to be bullied by, also has a book deal, and their deal is way better than hers, and their book is way better than hers. And so this basically sends Fern spiraling. Now, as the story progresses, we find out that there is this secret that is shared between Fern and Haven, and we're getting these flashback chapters of when they were like in high school, and you start to get pieces of what this secret is, and then that comes to a head by the end of the story as well. So I have really mixed feelings about this one because it took me a little bit to get into. I almost DNF this one. I was not a fan of Fern as a character. I found her to be kind of annoying, and it just seemed like she overthought everything until we got to like the halfway point and Haven was like introduced into the story and we see Fern like interacting with a lot of new authors. I started to become a little bit more invested because you kind of start to see the dynamic between Fern and Haven, and some of Fern's actions started to make a little bit more sense to me, and so I was then interested in the story. However, some of the stuff Fern was doing, I wish she would have like taken a little bit more accountability for it, but I could also understand why she was spiraling. One of the things I also liked about this story is that it talked a lot about the writing community and what it takes to get like published. And this also takes place during COVID, and so it also kind of touches on how that affected like the publishing industry. So I actually like that. I think where my disappointment kind of came in is once you figured out like what the secret is between Fern and Haven, I didn't really like how that came together or like the conclusion with that. But everything else in here I thought was fine. I didn't really have high expectations. I do wish there was a little bit more going on. We spent a lot of time with Fern and her thoughts. So I was hoping that we would have just gotten more of something else, but overall I thought this one was fine. So moving on to my 4-star reads, one of them I actually listened to on audio. I was able to get an early copy from Libro FM, and this is You'll Never Know by Caleb Stevens. This is a adult thriller, and before I even started listening to this, well, the only reason why I decided to listen to this is because I heard such good reviews, and let me tell you, this one did not disappoint. So this one starts off with this man, and I forgot his name, but it starts off with this man, and he and his wife are on a hike, and they're really happy. She just revealed that she's pregnant, so they are just in bliss right now on this hike until these masked men come and kidnap his wife, and then they send him on a goose chase with all these different clues that he has to solve and follow in order to get his wife back. And the story just takes off from there. We start to follow a few different POVs. There is an alternating timeline. There's a lot going on, and I really enjoyed this one. I loved all the action. I liked the other POVs that we followed and how they actually came together. I liked the ending of this. It was a really, really good story. This is my first book that I have read from Caleb Stevens, and it will not be my last. So I'm really happy that I listened to everybody else and decided to pick this one up. Another 4-star read we have here is Anatomy of an Alibi by Ashley Elston. This is a adult mystery thriller, and this was a shock to me because I don't think it was last year, but the year before last, this author came out with First Lie Wins. Everybody seemed to love that book, and I just, for the life of me, I still cannot understand why so many people liked that book. The more and more I think about it, I think I rated that book higher than it should have been rated. But I wanted to pick this one up because I was seeing a lot of early reviews, and this one was getting a lot of positive feedback. So I was like, okay, let me try it again. And this one was so much better than First Lie Wins. So in this one, we're following this woman, Camille. She's married to this like hotshot lawyer. She no longer wants to be married. And so she has to come up with this plan to kind of get out of her marriage. And she uses this random woman named Aubrey as a part of her plan. And the story just kind of goes from there. I don't want to say too much because I don't think you should know a lot going into this. I think this is one of those ones where you just kind of have to go along with it. So basically, this story has some alternating timelines. So it's like before the alibi, during the alibi, after the alibi, and then there are some chapters that go back like 10 years later. We follow a few different characters outside of Camille and Aubrey. There is some family drama in here. There is some secrets. Now, I'm not gonna say I was sold 100% on the conclusion. I think we probably could have done something else. But everything else outside of that, I actually really enjoyed. There were a few things in here that I did not put together. There were, of course, some things that I was able to put together. But this is a good one. If you were like me and you did not like First Lie Wins, I think you should give this one a try. My last 4-star read, we have Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. This is a adult fantasy romance, and I was also pleasantly surprised. It took me a little bit to pick this one up. I actually wanted to read it in the fall of last year. I just never got around to reading it, but I finally picked it up and I really enjoyed this one. So in this one, we are following our main character, Odessa. She is a princess along with her and her sister. But in this world that they live in, they're like plagued with monsters. There are monsters everywhere. And obviously they're not friendly. So people are basically trying to stay alive. Every few years, there's like this migration of crux, I think is what they're called, that come. And before the migration hits, there's a lot of preparation in each of these towns for people to try and stay safe and survive this migration. At the beginning of the story, Odessa's father, the king, has the prince and some other men from a different town come over and kill some of their monsters that they have. In exchange for that, the prince is supposed to marry Odessa's sister, but at the last minute, her father actually tells the prince that he is going to marry Odessa instead. And that is what happens. And Odessa then has to go back with the prince back to his town. Before Odessa goes, her father actually wants her to look into like the secret city that they have and to get information and send it back to the king. So we follow Odessa as she is traveling over to this town that she wasn't prepared to go to. She's trying to figure out how she's going to be a spy for her father. And we're also watching her as she's learning some things about these so-called monsters. And the story kind of takes off from there. Of course, at some point, there is a romance between Odessa and a character. So I actually really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the world. I liked the monsters. I liked the things that we were finding out. Now, is this a very predictable story? Yes. Did I see just about everything that was going to happen? Yes. But I was here for the vibes. This was a vibe read for me, and it worked. I am really excited for the next book. I hate though that I waited so long to pick this up because I don't have the copy with like the sprayed edges, and I'm sure that book 2 is gonna look beautiful and it's probably gonna have a lot of the sprayed edges. A little sad about that, but overall, really enjoyed this one. I know when I talked about this in like a previous TBR video, several of you guys have said that you actually enjoyed this. You guys were not wrong. This was a good one. So the last book that I want to talk about is my 5-star read. And I have quite a few things to say about that. But my 5-star read is Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed. This is a adult romance. I would be shocked if you have not actually heard anything about this book or the show that is on HBO Max. So just a brief plot synopsis. We're following 2 hockey players on rival teams. They end up forming I guess they start off as like a situationship, and then it kind of evolves into a full-blown romance, and the story just kind of like takes off from there. It spans a long time. These guys are trying to keep their relationship under wraps for years. But the only reason why I ended up picking this up is because of the show. I absolutely fell in love with the show. Now, normally when I watch the adaptation first, I hardly ever go back to read the source material because at that point I feel like I don't really need to. But in this situation, I like the show so much that I wanted to go back. I didn't mention this before, but this is actually part of a series, the Game Changer series. This is book 2. The first book in the series, I don't remember what it's called. The first book of the series is actually called Game Changers, and the characters in that book are actually in episode 3 of the show. So each book features different sets of characters. And so the characters, I didn't name them either. They are Shane and Ilya, and they also have another story, which is book 6, which is The Long Game, which is supposed to be season 2 of the show. But anyways, the show is what inspired me to pick this up. Now, if I was just walking in a bookstore, I would have never, ever picked this up. This does not look like something that I would have ever picked up. And to be honest, I don't think that I would have rated this 5 stars had I not watched the show. So I will be honest and say that the show had a little bit of influence over my rating for this book, because this provided so much insight into some of the things that obviously they weren't able to bring to the show. And so that is what made me love this book so much. Now, had I just read this on its own and there was no show, I'm not sure I would have gotten 5 stars. But because I'm already familiar with these characters, it just made me love the book. So that is why I'm giving this 5 stars. If you don't want to read the book, I would say check out the show if you have not already. And I will be honest and say that it didn't take me until like episode 4 before I was fully sold on the show. After episode 4, I was hooked and there was no turning back. So yes, I am rating this one 5 stars. I really, really love this. And I really, really love the show. And like I said, if you don't want to read the book, I would highly suggest you guys watch the show. So those are all of the reads that I wanted to share with you guys. If you guys have read any of these, please let me know your thoughts below. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.